It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Welcome to a Friday. So I'm looking here at the latest weather map. Oh, by the way, it's now tropical storm. Helene, 70-mile-an-hour winds, maximum sustained winds, moving now at 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
A fast-moving storm.
One of the largest, and by largest footprint in terms of its width, storms to hit the U.S. They had expected that when it was coming in, it could have been even larger, which some were saying at that time it was the largest hitting the Florida coast. Actually, two others were wider than Helene, but Helene, 420 miles wide. A couple of others were 460 miles wide. Not the strongest, but certainly one of the widest storms in terms of its footprint. You look now, even as a tropical storm, looking at the radar right now, how heavy rain and wind are affecting, so many people here. You talk about pretty much all of Tennessee seeing some rain. You get into Kentucky, parts of Ohio, southern Ohio, Illinois, seeing some of this. Then over into Missouri. The reach of this storm, incredible. But the damaging winds and water, of course, they're done in Florida and in Georgia with coming in as a Category 4, 140-mile-an-hour sustained winds, which is mind-boggling to think of, but also the storm surge. Especially when you talk about the total, how high the water would be at high tide with storm surge and flooding combined, it's mind-boggling. That's why Helene was so dangerous coming in, and still a dangerous storm as a tropical storm now. Again, as you mentioned, Gary, being downgraded. But the cleanup, we're talking about, reports say a total in that region of around 2 million people without power. We don't know the exact count. It comes and goes. That may increase, in fact. We don't know also, because nobody knows how long they'll be without power, how long it will take to restore power. Because if lines are down, it's going to take a while to restore that as you repair those lines, especially if a number of those structures, the poles, come down with those lines as well. That can take a long, long time. We learned that. We had after a Memorial Day weekend, we had a storm here in North Texas that was nowhere near as strong. And it took a while for some people to get their power back. And that always is the case after a hurricane. So there's first responders now that are and officials that are going to be assessing the damage as much of the effects have the storm itself. The biggest parts of the storm have left Florida, even though still getting wind, still getting some rain. The fact that it was moving and still is moving pretty quickly, 30 miles an hour, doesn't sound like fast, but for a storm, that's a very, very quick pace.
And it's drifting, parts of it, because parts of it are drifting north, parts of it are drifting more northwest. And when you look at it, throughout the morning, it looks like by the time we get to midday, it's going to be moved out of South Carolina. But, you look at northwest South Carolina, they've got pounded with rain the last couple of days. Before all this is hitting, they already had flash flood warnings in effect. In west, still the big portion of the rain from Helene still going to pound, it looks like, most of the day over western North Carolina, from Charlotte all the way over. And then you look at Tennessee. Tennessee's getting pounded right now, and it's going to continue to get pounded all day, and so is parts of Kentucky.
Right.
So it looks like there's still a ton of rain that's going to fall on these areas. So
Yep. for sure. And one of the things about that is that when you're well inland and the remnants, now a tropical storm, but then even beyond that, the remnants from a hurricane like Helene are affecting individuals that are in areas where there's not going to be a mandatory evacuation, but hopefully they still heed the warnings and understand how powerful the flooding can be, the flooding from the rain, and also the winds. Right now, again, sustained winds, very strong as a tropical storm, and you should take all necessary precautions and listen to local officials on the reports and updates on that, and be careful in getting out because, again, flooding is the number one danger of any hurricane, and we're seeing plenty of that with Helene.
All right, here we go. Vice presidential debate next week. J.D. Vance.
Wow. Yeah.
This is not a press release on J.D. Vance released by Red Eye Radio. I want to make this clear.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance will stay focused on the economy, border, and crime during the presidential debate. House Majority Whip Representative Tom Emmer, who assisted the former President Donald Trump's running mate with debate preparation ahead of the October 1st vice presidential debate, predicted during a Tuesday appearance on Breitbart. Emmer confirmed that he is assisting Vance with debate prep, playing the part of Walls. He said the prep is going to be as close to the real thing as possible. Wow, he's a talented actor, that Emmer. It really is.
It's
really
close to the, yeah.
That's some kind of talent.
Right.
I wonder if Emmer raised his hands, did the Richard Simmons raising of the hands thing.
I don't know. I haven't seen Walls lately. Maybe they borrowed Walls for the prep.
Again, we're honored to be part of it. Our team has been working on this. It's a honor to play a small part in helping the Trump-Vance ticket expose the failures of Kamala Harris and the incompetence of Tim Walz. It's going to be good. And he said that J.D. Vance is going to stay focused on the economy, border, and crime.
All right. Good.
Do we have to say anything else?
No.
Except that would be the advice that has been the advice of Red Eye Radio for, I don't know, since 2016 for anything that Trump's been involved with.
Based on his media appearances, I would not want to be the opponent of J.D. Vance in a debate.
No.
I just would not want to be. There are a number of reasons why. But I believe he's prepared. I mean, you always do prep anyway, but I believe he's fully prepared at any moment to promote what the basically the entire Trump agenda here and what's going on with their opponents, what's going on with Kamala Harris. And it's on top of that, he has a very clear voice. He can take control of a conversation. We've said the biggest part of a debate for candidates is you have to know one thing, keep one thing in mind at all times. You control what you say. Whatever they ask, whatever your opponent says, you have to respond to, but you control what you say. And J.D. Vance has shown great control over hitting the points over and over and over again with the liberal media. I don't expect that he's going to get any help from the moderators. In fact, it'll be just the opposite. But he's prepared. J.D. Vance, based on what I've seen since he's been on the ticket, has no problem talking about what he believes in and what Trump believes in at the drop of a hat at any moment to any person.
The only thing I want to say about the Trump campaign is for everything that we've gone through, remember with the Commission on Presidential Debates, and we need to stop. We need to stop. Those people are useless because all they do is give us the liberal networks. And the liberal networks then take the side of the Democrats. Well, they're not a part of this now. I will say this. The Trump campaign could not have done worse in scheduling the moderators for the debates.
Mm-hmm.
For them not to insist on one from Fox News and make it an even thing and really, really demand it blows my mind, because Republicans have been going crazy. The last 20 years? The Commission on Presidential Debates is useless because they're all liberal networks. Well, now the campaign had total control of what they could agree to and what not to agree to. And everything has been on a liberal network.
Well, it makes me wonder, and it's just a question, and I think it might apply to Trump now. Is he okay with it because he realizes that it's going to be so bad, because it was with ABC, that it makes him a martyr?
Oh, yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense.
I'll give you that. Let me see the internal polling that you've done from voters on that.
Mm-hmm.
Because how would you know? How have you focus grouped that to know? You knew it afterwards. We knew it
How
afterwards.
would a campaign know?
Well, yeah, we knew it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
How would the campaign know beforehand?
Unless they just went on just pure faith, blind faith.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you and I said, though, he could have made that deal back at the very beginning to have two debates. He could have made that and said, look, it's fair. If the American public understands the bias of the networks, then the American public would clearly understand that, no, it's fair. One Fox News, you get one, we get one. If not, no debate.
Well, and back then, you that absolutely should have been the case. You should have moved in that direction, because it was think about the things that politically have, if you're going to make him a political martyr, that have happened. The guilty verdict and 2 assassination attempts, and then the assassination plot that came out. And so in building even beyond that, when you look at the Alvin Bragg case in New York, it's clear that Mershon and Bragg, the judge Mershon and Bragg, understand now that they're not going to get a parade for this, that it made Trump a martyr, that they can't even, the Democratic Party can't even say convicted felon, because that builds the martyrdom. So that would be only recently, since those events, that you could apply that theory, if that's what Trump is thinking. Because you look at the fallout from the ABC thing, you had liberals going, man, that was bad.
Yeah, but
that was bad.
But if you had one, look at it from the opposite point of view.
Mm.
If you had one on Fox News and you made it where it was partisans, just like, or Newsmax or whatever,
mm-hmm.
and you had partisans asking the question, and you could convince the public, you could convince independents, look, this is fair. I want one over here. She got hers. I want mine. It would be a great chance for her to crumble under cross-examination, under very tough questions.
Yeah.
Because we know she can't do it. So I guess it's both. My point was, though, I'll make it a very simple point, as sometimes I think I make a simple point and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, we've just for 20 years screaming, we've got to do this, we've got to do it. And then the campaign was in complete control, not anything close to having what I would view as, seeing the first CNN wasn't bad, but still, the bias is there.
Yeah,
why
the
can't
activism,
and all the screaming Republicans did, and it's like there's been no change. It's still all liberal networks.
Well, and on the issues he won. I mean, he clearly there's nothing she won on. I guess because trying to get into Trump's head is probably
exercise in futility.
Yeah, it's always going to be just that. In fact, but if he looks at it and says, you know what? Because here's what he sees, too. Remember They did some Fox News debates. And remember what he said in the interview? When someone asked him recently about Fox News, and he didn't want Brett Baer.
Yeah.
He didn't want Martha McCallum. He wanted Sean, or Laura.
Jesse.
He wanted the opinion makers that he knows are on his side.
Because ABC got that.
Right. But he wouldn't, that's not going to happen. That debate's likely never going to happen. It would be Brett Baer. It would be Martha McCallum, probably.
Then go to Newsmax.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I think for him, I think he's okay with being the martyr.
Well, here's the thing. What has changed this entire election? Because I believe this is the first election where the mainstream, by the way, I posted yesterday, stop calling them mainstream media. They're not mainstream, which is true. They're not mainstream.
No, that's true.
They're not. And I said, that's a great point. We say mainstream because people immediately identify ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times. That's what people think. So we say that because we know that the label there. But as you know, we call them the majority, not all, but the vast majority are, radical leftist political activists.
Right.
They're not journalists.
Right.
So people understand that. We'll get to more of this coming up. 866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
National Public Lands Day this Saturday is a fee-free day in our country's federally owned day-use parks and public lands.
National forests, national parks, any other public lands, wildlife refuges.
Alice Cohen of the U.S. Forest Service says day-use fees, such as parking and for other amenities, are waived for designated days. The Forest Service has 5 such fee-free days every year, including National Public Lands Day and Veterans Day on November 11th. Other entities may have their own additions to the fee-free day calendar. For instance,
the agencies might recognize when they started. So Army Corps of Engineers, June 16th is their birthday.
Federal agencies participating in fee-free days at their day-use parks have information on their websites, including the Forest Service website at www.fs.usda.gov. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, and we'll only got about a minute here, but we'll explore more into it following the bottom of the hour. But are we finally at the point? I think we are. I think everything that shows here, I got a study that was done on Americans and what they think about the media. And you and I have talked about this for the longest time, and still, I got somebody messaged me last week, Trump can't win because the media is all against him. And we've been saying this really for the last 10 years. Even more, we've said no. With the internet, the mainstream, the traditional media, whatever you want to call it, ABC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times, there's less trust there. And I think that, and this may go down in history at this moment, that this was the election where the media lost complete influence, and social media, and I mean X, really has changed everything. We'll explain more coming up.
Listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And I'm Gary McNamara along with Eric Harley.
And it is Truck Driver Appreciation Month here at Red Eye Radio. Actually, we like to celebrate truckers all the time, year-round, but we had National Truck Driver Appreciation Week earlier this month, and during September, we like to acknowledge drivers that are out there listening and out there delivering America's goods. Robert from Terrace, New Mexico. He drives for Western United Electric Supply. He's been driving for 34 years. Wow, it's a long time. Thank you, Robert. And also Melvin from Amsterdam, New York.
Yeah.
He's an owner-operator. He's been trucking for 22 years. Melvin, thank you. Robert and all of America's truck drivers, thank you for delivering the goods. Thank you for being out there. We know that it's a thankless job, but we greatly appreciate what you do. All of us here at Red Eye Radio salute you and thank you.
Well, their job's just like ours. Thankless.
Exactly.
It's I'm kidding.
I will say this. I can't say that every driver I can't say this about every driver, but they may not be having as much fun as we do.
Well, I'll say this on my special day.
Yeah. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, Gary McNamara.
It's just every day now, and it's you and I will walk out after the show. And I've been looking at you lately. And I know there are serious problems, but I look at Eric, and it's been like for the last maybe week or so.
Mm-hmm.
Every day we walk out, I look at you and go, God, we're just having so much fun.
Yeah.
It's like,
it really is.
This is our job. It's so much fun. And every day I walk out and I'm, just get in the car and I'm completely excited. I'm like just happy and thrilled.
Right.
And so we're very blessed to be able to do this each and every day. And we couldn't do it without our all of our great listeners out there, including so many truck drivers that are out there. And so we really just want to say, just always want to say thank you because it's a thrill to be able to do this. And at my ancient age, something that was a Harris moment. I didn't know where to go.
At my aging age.
This is like, I don't know where to go. Just throw a word in and see if it works. It's a blessing. And this is the best radio job I've ever had on air.
Yeah.
I had a great management job one time of a radio station.
Yeah.
That I look at extremely fondly. But this...
Firing people is so much fun.
Well, I had to fire one guy for sexual harassment for grabbing a girl's butt.
Well, that will and should get you fired.
Like, Sugar Mag, what
are you doing?
What are you doing? I mean, that was almost the thing. What
are you doing?
What world are you in? And that was in the late 80s. So
yeah. Wow.
But this is, working with you.
Mm-hmm.
Changed everything for me. I mean, I have always enjoyed radio. I never wanted to do this. I never wanted to do talk radio. And I'm not saying it wasn't good, but working with you, this is great. I mean, this is great. This is like, it's like the Super Bowl every day. It's like you're winning.
Well, because there are so many meaningful things that we get to cover and talk about. I think that's it. When we talk about what impacts people's lives, it is absolutely true that when I go through my day and, I'm thinking about, all right, what people have to deal with and everything else. I think as a society, generally speaking, we do that. We consider what the impact might be on other people quite often. And I think you have to do that. And if we're going to have the discussion about the future of the country, it really isn't about me. It's about the generations behind us and what they're going to be left with.
Yeah.
And that becomes more worrisome. And I know this is typical as you get older, but it certainly becomes more worrisome now because when I say, and it sounds cliche, that we're at a crossroads, I really do believe it. I believe that this election cycle is where we decide that this is going to be it. This is going to be how we go out, essentially, as a nation, how liberty is going to be eroded and how things are going to be done. Or we decide it is absolutely not going to be this way, and we're going to fight for the very principles that this nation was founded on. And that's really where we are. I mean, we've talked about it in detail to no end, and we'll continue to do that. But that's what makes it enjoyable is first of all, there's so much crazy stuff we can mix in with it, and we also like to have fun. A little bit of laughter, a lot of laughter sometimes, but it is so insane right now. It is critical that we separate, we sort out rather everything that's going on and how we change it, how we got here, and how we get out of this. And I can't wait until Election Day. I can't wait to see what we're going to do about this. I really do have more of a positive feeling and greater confidence as each day goes by that we're going to make the right choice. But I hope I'm right.
And one of the reasons, again, and this is what we sense, again, I don't have a crystal ball, neither do you.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought about this and I'm going to play the audio cut in just a moment, Melania Trump. And I'd said at the bottom of the hour, right before we went in, I said, yeah, but the mainstream media won't play it. And then as soon as I said it, I went, then we had to take a break. I thought, yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because right here, Americans actually say they trust the media far less than they say they do. Study shows. Americans trust the media even less than that they're willing to admit. Polls have long shown low trust in the media, especially when it comes to election news, with the more recent surveys showing that their trust is continuing to decline. However, results of a new study of American adults conducted by the think tank Populous with the help of Gradient and YouGov suggest that distrust in the media is actually much greater than traditional polls have found. In general, Americans are overstating their trust in the media, whereas 24% of the public agree that they trust the media to tell the truth. In private, only 7% really believe it. Results from the generation reveal a double-digit gap between what people are willing to say publicly and what they privately think. Thus, while about 1 in 4 Americans say they trust the media, only about 1 in 6 truly do trust the news they're being fed. By age group, the gap between claims and actual beliefs is the largest for millennials and smallest but still considerable for Gen Z. Democrats are, listen to this, Eric, Democrats are like you weren't going to be listening.
Yeah.
Democrats are the least forthcoming in their evaluations of the honesty of the media. The study finds 42% of Democrats say they publicly trust the media. Only 9% say that privately. Republicans and independents are less likely to trust the media and more willing to admit it. But Democrats, a huge portion, 33-point gap, basically are saying publicly what they don't believe privately, which means they're lying when they take the polls, when the polls hit them. My point is, this may be the first election where the media doesn't matter. You know, there's media. There's that media. There's that Media Matters site. Maybe it should be Media Doesn't Matter.
Media doesn't matter.
But this may be it, where social media. We may look back in history and say one of the greatest things that's ever happened to media in this country is Musk buying X, because Democrats may stay away from it, but independents don't. Independents and conservatives are. You go and you look at it. I look at so many liberal posts out there. The Morning Joe post, 7 out of 10 are criticism of the BS that he's throwing out.
Right.
And that's the question. Do we finally recognize the BS? Is that's what's happening in the public? And we're sick of it. But I thought about this Melania Trump thing, and I said, well, mainstream media won't play it. And I said, it doesn't matter. I listened to it because you haven't heard from her, and it's on X.
Right.
And I've never heard what she actually wants to say if it wasn't like the normal first lady kind of things. So I want to play what she said because I thought when I saw it, I went, that's powerful. And if it's powerful to me, and I don't mean as a partisan, it was just powerful because you've never heard from her and how she explained exactly where the American public is right now, including the vast majority of independents. I went, well, this is powerful, even if it's just on X and the conservative media, because right now we can see through everything that the public isn't buying, independents aren't buying what they're trying to sell.
Right.
Here's part of the interview.
Well, how I see it is the records speaks for itself. The country is suffering. People are not able to buy usual necessities for the families. We have wars going on around the world. Soldiers are dying. They were dying under this administration because of weak leadership. The border is open and dangerous. A lot of fentanyl is coming over, killing our youth. It's very hard to see. And an economy, it's really not great. Inflation is high. And if we compare these 4 years under this administration compared to 4 years under my husband as commander-in-chief, he was leading the country through peace, through strength. And the border was safer than ever before. We didn't have any wars. People were prospering. They had jobs. They could support their families. So I think American people need to decide what they really want. Maybe some, strong tweets, but everything else great for this country. So it's all in the American people's hands on November 5th.
Now, she can't run for president, but I was going to suggest she run and Donald just go to the side. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
no,
but it's exactly what you said in introing that cut. It really is the first time that we've seen her get out there on the issues. And it's, I think, critical. It probably was critical, or important at least for the campaign to say, look, we need her out there. We need to show that there is this unity between them. And with all the things said and alleged against Donald Trump and all of that, we need to show that because his sons are a given, even though his daughter is not part of the campaign right now. That's going to be a given too. I'm sure she still has plentiful conversations with her dad, but you need to show that unity as a couple. And she's hitting the issues here. She's showing, she's demonstrating, look, these are the things that are wrong. And look at everything that was going on when my husband was president. I think she did a good job.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, yeah, Democrats are the least forthcoming in their evaluation of honesty in the media. 42% say publicly they trust the media. Only 9% do. Black Americans show the largest gap among racial groups between what they say and what they really believe about the media's trustworthiness, a study finds. While 29% of blacks say they trust the media, in reality, in private, only 6% do.
When you look at, you mentioned Elon Musk buying Twitter, and now it's X. You look at also with the Twitter files, what we learned and how all of that has changed social media. It's changed how everybody uses social media, because X, I think you're right, has been a big player, I think. And, there's a lot of garbage out there, but still, if you want to find the truth, you can. And if you want to speak the truth and speak your opinion, you can. But even I think it's even helped change how we look at Facebook.
Yep.
And other social media.
I'm going to party down today.
Happy birthday. Enjoy your day.
I'm going to have a cup of regular caffeinated coffee.
Yeah. Hey, listen, go slow.
Okay.
No driving.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.